So what is security and compliance for artificial intelligence models? I was intrigued, and so when somebody approached me to talk a little bit more about it, I said, absolutely. Sahil Agarwal joins me from Enkrypt.ai. They focus specifically on solving this problem, analyzing it for customers, and providing ongoing management and monitoring to it. On this bonus episode, The Business of Tech. Today's episode is supported by Huntress. Most cybersecurity solutions are built for massive enterprises with big budgets. Not Huntress. They're the fully managed cybersecurity platform built for all businesses, not just the 1%. Huntress purposely builds security solutions like EDR, ITDR, SIM, and security awareness training to equip their team of elite threat hunters to handle the heavy lifting of security for you. When threat actors strike, Huntress's 24/7 global SOC shuts them down before they're even on anyone else's radar. But they do more than just chase alerts. They lead the charge in industry research and knowledge, bringing expert protection and peace of mind. That's why users on G2 rate their EDR number 1 for growing businesses. To see how their expert threat hunting team gets the job done, visit huntress.com/MSP Radio. Well, Sahil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for having me.
I feel like with the name Enkrypt.ai, there's a cool origin story here. Can you walk me through kind of how the company was founded and what motivated you to focus on this space?
Yeah, so we started in 2022, early 2022. ChatGPT hadn't come around, and we were looking to explore a new encryption algorithm to help companies adopt AI.
Okay, and then that clearly is that purely where it goes, or have you expanded the mission from beyond that?
So the mission has always been to help enterprises adopt AI. Encryption was one technology or one part of it that we were trying out. For operational and other purposes, that algorithm is still much slower than where we need it to be. So we've started developing, and we're developing new techniques and new solutions to help enterprises adopt generative AI today by offering them red teaming and guardrails around the generative applications.
Gotcha. So you're looking for a bunch of the detection and mitigation of risks around there. Talk me through kind of some of the stuff that you're looking for to flag those kinds of behaviors for those end users.
Yeah. So as a business owner who's adopting generative AI, one of the key risks is a brand risk for you, where if your generative application starts putting out toxic content in front of your users, or a legal risk if you're a medical device company and your generative application starts giving out medical advice, which is a legal liability for you. It could be a security risk, such as a prompt injection, where you could have data leakage. So these are some of the risks at a very high level that we would capture, or we would first find if your system is actually prone to such risks, and then go ahead and deploy solutions to mitigate these risks in your generative applications.
Now, this feels like it has two components. There's an initial kind of assessment piece where you would get an organization who's new to you, and then you'd say like, hey, let's take a look at where you're at and what the risks are. And then it feels like there's a second part, which is the ongoing maintenance and monitoring and management of that. Walk me through kind of the approach and how those two work together.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And that's actually a part of a lot of the research that the team has been doing. So what red teaming or what risk assessment is doing is, let's say you have an agent or a co-pilot with a particular use case. And there are certain guidelines that you would like it to follow. There are certain policies you would like it to follow, or regulations that may apply. So what risk assessment is doing is in real time dynamically prompting your system and attacking it, simulating those attacks to see whether a system responds in an adversarial manner. So that's how the risk assessment is done. But what it's giving you is a detailed report of all the risks and vulnerabilities that exist. With that detailed data set, you can go ahead and refine the mitigation system itself, so that your mitigation system is much more efficient. rather than rather than brute forcing a solution there. You can have a much more efficient and elegant system in terms of mitigation for a generative application. And that flows back into the risk assessment, because if there's a false positive or a false negative, we can put that back into the risk assessment itself. So they form a flywheel, which is an ever improving system to help make sure your generative applications work as you want them to.
This feels like traditional security, right? Because there's a lot of looking for system vulnerabilities, looking to push the limits. We do an assessment, then we do on. Is this all the same when it comes to generative AI? Are there new risks? What are we looking for more broadly when we add generative AI to organizations that we now have to look for?
I mean, more broadly, because you're essentially simulating human beings, right? At a very meta level, if you think about it, right? And it's not traditional vulnerability management, but it's also is a co-pilot or an agent that you're bringing into your organization. Is that person biased, for example, or is that person prone to, say, toxic stuff in front of your employees or your users? Is that person looking to leak sensitive information from your system to your competitors, or praise your competitors in front of your users? Things like that, right? Where your brand, your business are facing liabilities and risks just from the fact that you have more agents or more co-pilots or more chatbots in your system.
Now, one of the things I've been really curious to talk to owners and developers and product people like you is the idea of the cost models here. Because one of the things that's really interesting to me is that I feel like this is a space that we're still all figuring out, right? Because generative AI broadly is not making any money. OpenAI spends nearly double what it generates in revenue, right? And while I know this is about to be seriously disruptive, we've seen it with DeepSeek and what they're in the cost models around that. But fundamentally, nobody's making money at the model level. And now we're trying to layer stuff on top of that. Talk to me the way you're thinking about the cost models of using AI in products.
Yeah. So economics is always, it is a big factor when we're talking to our customers as well. They need to be getting enough ROI. But it's a chicken and egg problem, because what we're also seeing is companies have been spending millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in generative AI projects, and they're excited about it. But none of them, or a very small percentage of those projects, are actually going into production, because of the fact that you need to solve for the risks and security and compliance around the generative AI projects itself. So it's like they need to spend that money in projects. They need to spend money on a solution like Enkrypt, which is only then when they'll start getting value, right? So I think that aspect is still there. In terms of at the model level, obviously, we're seeing a democratization of the technology itself. There's open source, which is now at the same level, if not better, than some of the largest closed source model providers out there. And that'll continue to happen. I think models will continue to get better. They'll continue to get smaller, and in the hands of more and more people. I think the value there will lie in the application layer, or from an enterprise perspective. And I'm not. I hate to say it, but ultimately, if agents are coming and being deployed at scale, it's about how do I get a leaner workforce with a 24/7 AI agent that's doing the work that I had other people manage for me, right? So I think that's where I see the field heading towards.
Gotcha. Now I want to take the quick step back again to make sure that I've made this concrete for listeners. I'm sure you've got a use case of the use of the Enkrypt.ai's technology. Talk me through a really great use case of what an ideal customer looks like and how you've implemented.
Yeah. So some of our customers, they're SaaS application providers, regulated industries. They're adding generative AI capabilities to their own product. Before Enkrypt, when they've been testing their product in front of users, they've faced some major hurdles. They've been in the news for not so good reasons because of generative AI. And that's where we come in, where we identified all the potential vulnerabilities and risks in their application and showed it to them. And they were happy, but also surprised at the same time, or not so happy at the same time that such things exist. Because I think, to your earlier point, everyone's learning at the same time. Like we including us, we're also finding out a lot of these challenges ourselves as well. And so so it's essentially head of AI, head of product sort of roles, or AI focused roles that become our customers. And once you have the risks identified, we deployed guardrails to mitigate those risks, which ultimately gave them a monitoring solution as well with respect to how their AI applications are being used by their users.
Gotcha. One of the risks that I hear a lot about is this idea of data leakage, right? The idea that proprietary information will leak out, will get shared with models, or the models themselves will share back information with employees. How much is that happening in the field? Give me a real lay of the land of what's happening around data leakage.
I think it depends on the use case. If you're just using models from different model providers, whether that's OpenAI, Anthropic, Llamas of the world, or DeepSeek. If you're hosting your own model, whether DeepSeek or Llama or any other open source model, then that data leak problem is much less pronounced because you can make sure that nothing is going outside your network boundary itself. If you're using OpenAI or Anthropic or other closed source model providers, cloud service providers like Azure and AWS, Bedrock have come in to act as data brokers, where your data is being guaranteed to be safe by these companies. So I think those are not major challenges. I think the biggest challenge is if you're using deep models like DeepSeek hosted within China itself, or if you're using some SaaS applications that have generative AI capabilities, and you have no idea how they're managing your data itself, right? So they may be calling OpenAI's consumer API, where OpenAI doesn't provide any guarantees, for example. Or they may be using their own infra may not be completely secure itself.
Now, that feels like it's going to be a good portion of the market, though, because a lot of this is going to get baked into products. How are you advising clients to manage the risk around that?
So one of the things that we advise is make sure your PII or PHI or any form of sensitive data that you consider proprietary, if there are ways to make them stay on the client side and not give it to the end application, I think that's a much cleaner way to ensure you're getting the right service, but your data is staying protected as well. Or go with trusted solutions. You can have a sandbox where you can try out these new models or new applications, but having the right security posture is a must to stay ahead.
Sahil Agarwal is the co-founder and CEO of Enkrypt.ai, an AI security and compliance program. He's earned a PhD in applied mathematics from Yale and has extensive experience in AI model development and deployment. Prior to founding Enkrypt.ai in 2022, he led an AI initiatives at iterative, focused on secure and reliable solutions for clients such as the U.S. Department of Defense. Sahil, if people are interested in learning more, where can they reach out and get more information?
They can always reach out to me via email, sahil@encrypt.ai.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to respond as fast as possible for everyone.
Well, I really appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Today's episode is supported by Huntress. Most cybersecurity solutions are built for massive enterprises with big budgets, not Huntress. They're the fully managed cybersecurity platform built for all businesses, not just the 1%. Huntress purposely builds security solutions like EDR, ITDR, SIM, and security awareness training to equip their team of elite threat hunters to handle the heavy lifting of security for you. When threat actors strike, Huntress's 24/7 global SOC shuts them down before they're even on anyone else's radar. But they do more than just chase alerts. They lead the charge in industry research and knowledge, bringing expert protection and peace of mind. That's why users on G2 rate their EDR number 1 for growing businesses. To see how their expert threat hunting team gets the job done, visit huntress.com/MSP Radio. The Business of Tech is written and produced by me, Dave Sobel, under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you've enjoyed the show, make sure you've subscribed or followed on your favorite platform. It's free and helps directly. Give us a review too. If you want to support the show, visit patreon.com/MSP Radio and you'll get access to content early. Or buy our Why Do We Care merch at businessof.tech. Have a question you want answered? We take listener questions, send them in, ideally as a voice memo or video to question@mspradio.com. I answer listener questions live on our Wednesday live show on YouTube and LinkedIn. If you've got a comment or a thought on a story, put it in the comments if you're on YouTube, or reach out on LinkedIn if you're listening to the podcast. And if you want to advertise on the show, visit mspradio.com/engage. Once again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again on our next episode.
Part of the MSP Radio Network.